Welcome to the PK podcast where we discuss people's health. I'm Kim and with me is Pita.
Today we'll be talking about mental health and with our special guest, Felicia. So let's get started.
But first, a special word from our sponsors.
PK is brought to you by Flor Mixteca Food Truck. Flor Mixteca Food Truck is a food truck located in Eureka, California. If you ever crave yummy, authentic Mexican food, this food truck is the way to go. It sells delicious foods such as tortas, quesadillas, tacos, asada fries, burritos, and so much more. As you finish your meal, you can order yourself one of the flavorful agua frescas to wash it down, so you don't miss out on Flor Mixteca Food Truck this
Today on
summer.
the show, we're excited to have Felicia, who works in the Wellness Center for Fortuna High Union High School. She's going to share her expertise on mental health, her story, some advice about how to deal with your mental health, and what are some resources that you can reach out to get help. Hi, Felicia, and welcome to the PK podcast.
Hi, thank you.
Okay, so the first question is, tell us about the Wellness Center and why you chose to work in the mental health field.
So our wellness center, we developed this space about 4 years ago after COVID because we knew that a lot of students were struggling with isolation and mental health issues post-COVID. And so I think the timing was just right because we all know that teenagers struggle with issues like anxiety and depression, but I think after COVID, myself and some other folks that work here, like Mr. Rossman and Miss Ambrosini, and there was a team of us that said hey, I think it would be good to have a wellness center, especially kids coming out of COVID and coming out of a lot of that isolation and being by themselves. And so really understanding that there needed to be more mental health support embedded in the school, I think, too. And then, what was the other question?
Why you chose to work in the mental health field?
Because I love it, and I used to work with families and kids in school, in schools in a different capacity. I taught preschool, and I worked in after school programs, and I did summer camps, and worked in recreation and did all of those things, but there was always a mental health component that I felt was kind of missing in those spaces, and where people might need resources or extra help with things, and so social work was kind of my pathway to being able to still work in a school, but also acknowledge mental health and support students with mental health.
Period. Okay. Lupita, you have the second question?
What was your personal experience with mental health and the biggest challenge you had to overcome with it?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I would say probably one of the biggest hurdles or struggles that I've had with my own personal mental health has been anxiety. And I struggled with some pretty severe panic attacks. I was going to the emergency room and whatnot a few years ago. And there was a lot going on in my life at that time. And so, but it really made me realize how important really healthy coping skills are, having a really strong support network, and having all of those things that kind of balance out your mental health. I started going to acupuncture, I started going to therapy, I started to rearrange kind of my personal life and my diet and whatnot. And so all of those things kind of helped my own mental health. And then it also helps me be able to talk about it with the people that I work with now and students that I work with now and adults and whoever. But I like talking about it because it's something that's really real, and I think it's something that a lot of people go through, but they're just not able to talk about out loud, or they think there's some stigma around having panic attacks or anxiety, but it's actually something that a lot of people struggle with, and so I talk about it as much as I can. But yeah, I think I've struggled with different issues around my mental health, but I think that's probably one of the biggest ones was my panic attacks and anxiety. And I'm really proud of the fact that I manage that with little to no medication. I've done it in the most natural way that I could. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. And now we have one last question for you. What are some mental health issues that high schoolers come in for, and what are some resources they could use to deal with it?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest issues that high school kids struggle with is probably anxiety. I think one of the things that's lacking is healthy coping skills, right? Like a lot of students, we see a lot of students like who are vaping or drinking or using substances to cope with anxiety, not really understanding like how that works in our brains and in our bodies, right? And that's not the healthiest way to deal with anxiety. And so what we help students a lot with here in the Wellness Center is healthy coping strategies. And so, but a big part of that is figuring out like what those tools are in your toolbox, like whether it's journaling, whether it's exercise, whether it's, maybe surrounding yourself with more positive people, getting involved in different activities, getting out of the house, like managing screen time. All of those things contribute to, anxiety and managing your anxiety and trying to live like a healthier lifestyle. I think a lot of students also struggle with depression and relationship issues, and all of those things kind of overlap with each other. There's a lot of like coexisting issues that I think a lot of teenagers have, that if one thing is out of balance, then everything's out of balance, right? Like, so we have to really focus on like how can we help you manage everything so that everything's feeling balanced. And because we know that we all have stress in our lives. We have normal stress, and then we have like traumatic stress, right? Like, how do we deal with the normal stress in a healthy, positive way so that it doesn't become a traumatic stress or something that's really interfering with our day-to-day functioning? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, thank you so much, Felicia, for sharing with us. And to anyone that's dealing with mental health, the Wellness Center is always here for you to use.
And that brings us to the end of this episode. Thanks to Felicia for joining us during this important and informative discussion on how to deal with mental health. We hope that you found this episode beneficial. As always, thanks for listening to PK Podcast.
Today, Felicia shares some ways that high school students struggle with their mental health, along with their own personal experience with her own. Mental health should never be ignored. Everyone struggles with it one way or another. It is important to notice when your mental health is not looking the brightest, and knowing when and where to reach out is important as well. If you or someone you know is struggling, don't be afraid to reach out for help. For immediate crisis support, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is available by calling or texting 988, or by chatting online at 988lifeline.org. For more general mental health support or substance abuse help, you can reach out to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. You can reach their national helpline at 1-800-662-HELP, or text your zip code to 435748, help for you. Fortuna High also has the Wellness Center open for any student that needs a mental break from the school. The staff is very understanding and welcoming, so if you ever feel like your schoolwork or even your personal life is overwhelming you, just ask your teacher for a Wellness Center pass and they will be happy to help you. If you enjoy our show, please rate and leave a good review for us on Apple Podcasts. And be sure to come back next week for a discussion on how good nutrition and bad nutrition can leave an impact on us. Until then, this is Kim.
And Pita. And don't forget, ya
Ya
tu
tu sabes.
sabes.